Thanks. So just to highlight that there are, as Stuart's just said, 3 tenders out at the moment. There are another 2 or 3 coming in mid-September, and they're pretty regular on an almost kind of monthly basis. There'll be something popping up as inquiries come into us, and as we manage to develop those into tenders, they just go out to tender straight away. So there should be a fairly steady stream of feasibility studies going to tender. The 3, as Stuart's also noted, are relatively alike. There are some differences amongst them. The letters is a relatively straightforward area of 104 hectares down in Argyll. It will go forward for peatland code as well as for peatland action. Glenrath Farm is 223 hectares, and likewise is also going to go to the peatland code. It's again a relatively straightforward piece of work. It's a heavily modified site, but there's nothing desperately complicated about it. The North Ure site, Cheese Bay and Lochporton, is not going to go for the peatland code, so the peat depth survey requirements there are a little bit different. So I'll kind of run through some of those in kind of overview, but just to highlight that the word from our technical team who are letting these tenders is that these are all relatively straightforward pieces of work which might suit a sole trader or a small organisation. They're not especially complex or especially difficult. As you'll see if you look at them all, they're all set out in a very similar format. So basically, sections 1 and 2 give you, give me just a second while I run up the page. Sections 1 and 2 give you the kind of general outline of, sorry, sections 1 and 1.2 give you the general outline of NATURESCOT, which is the legal operating name, which is the operating name of Scottish Natural Heritage. Section 2 gives you the overview of the particular site. So of course it sets out in there the area and where it is. And it also, of course, highlights that there are a number of tenders running concurrently. You're very welcome to bid for one or more. Of course, if you're going to bid for more than one, you'll need to be quite clear that you've actually got the capacity to deliver that within the time frame, because there is quite a lot of work involved in all these. So if your organisation is of a size, or your work is such that you could bid for more than one, please make clear how you would do that, because they're all coming into the one person who will be able to kind of judge that in the overview. So in section 2, it gives you kind of an overview of the basic outline of the site. So I'm in the Glenrath one at the moment. That tells you where it is in the borders, it tells you the altitude at which it sits, and it tells you also designated sites and other things to be aware of in terms of its within the catchment of the River Tweed, for example. It also tells you a little bit about access. And then it sets out what you're going to need to cover. So effectively what we're asking for is an outline of the site such that that piece of work that you provide could then be used to tender for contractors to do the restoration on the site. So we're looking at taking the area within the map and assessing the feasibility of restoring that within a single project, or if not in a single project, then setting out the stages in which it should be carried forward. So for example, on hydrological units or in terms of priority areas for restoration. It will require a full peat depth survey, a hydrological assessment. I've been asked to tell you that the hydrological assessment doesn't need to be an all singing, all dancing, glossy document. We're not looking for something which you would require, you know, a designer to help you come up with. This is a straightforward, simple assessment, and it can be written as such. It's the information that we're looking for, not necessarily the presentation in terms of the hydrological assessment. Where are the hydrological units, and how does the water flow? For Glenrath and Letters, we're asking for peat depth surveys to be carried out in accordance with the Peatland Code protocol. But we're also asking that, because it's going for both Peatland Code and Peatland Action, that this will require a survey of the full depth of the peat. So that's further down in section 4. So Peatland Code only requires you to measure the peat to 1 metre in depth, but for Peatland Action, we actually require to know how deep the peat actually is. So both Glenrath and Letters will require the Peatland Code standard, but with an added bit for Peatland Action. And the Cheese Bay and Lochporton, it's the standard Peatland Code method of assessment. So those are the kind of things to look out for. And then obviously baseline hydrological assessment. And constraints and opportunities for peatland restoration. These sites are suitable for restoring, and any constraints on the site, including constraints around access, timing of land management activities, and so on. And then a full recommendation for how that site should be restored. And as I said, this would be the basis of a grant funding application should the landowner decide to go ahead with it. So we're needing sufficient detail to allow that to then go straight out to tender for somebody who's going to carry out the work. So that's section 2 gives you that general outline. Section 3 tells you the methodology, which is of course what I've just outlined there in terms of the peat depth surveys, peatland condition assessment, and the hydrological survey, followed by the development of the actual restoration management plan. Section 4 is the bit to really concentrate on. There are standardly 25 details outlined in there that will be required. There's only 24 in the North Uist, the Cheese Bay site, because it doesn't require peatland code calculations. What we're looking for in your response to the tender is setting out how you will actually do these. So effectively we're looking for an understanding of the task and setting out how you will do it. So please do pay attention to all of the criteria in section 4, because those are really, really important to detail that you've read, you considered, and you have a way in which you will address all of those. Section 5 outputs, it sets out quite clearly there how they will be expecting to see this come in. The peatland management restoration plan, all the GIS maps, the Excel files, and logos and all that sort of thing, which is available under section 5. There's performance monitoring elements in there about what would happen were this not going entirely well, and you know the action that would be taken if, for example, there's a piece of survey work which wasn't sufficiently detailed. We'd come back and ask for further information or corrected format or so on. In the knowledge and experience section, it's quite important that you can demonstrate that within the team that's going to carry out this work that there is some experience and some skills which are relevant. So please do consider, CVs need to be attached separately, but please do consider setting out a kind of summary CV for each of the personnel who might be involved in this piece of work, and any relevant information or experience that your business has of doing similar or the same or similar work. And as you'll see there, the person to whom you are addressing the emails is Donald Nair, and he's at Peatland Action Tender at nature.scot. So all questions should go to him by the deadline of Friday. Responses should likewise also go to him by the deadline of 12:30 on the 18th. Donald has asked me to highlight the fact that if you are sending files which are quite large, they are sometimes caught in our filter, and that filter clears itself overnight. So we have had examples of people sending large documents which did not arrive by the 12:30 deadline. So please do consider your timing on that one. We don't standardly acknowledge emails as they come in. So standardly the tenders are not opened until 1 p.m, and at which point everybody's submission will be acknowledged. So please be aware that if you're sending largest files, you may want to consider sending them the day before, or you may want to send a request alongside that saying, please can you acknowledge safe receipt of this email, because it will not standardly be acknowledged. And what else should I tell you about? So going further down this page, there's a timetable listed on the document which tells you, when it's live, when it's due back, and when the completed dates are. So the proposed contract end dates for all of these are in February, although as it says quite clearly, the earlier the better. Basically, if you can do them before that deadline, that would be very welcome, because of course if we can move these on to restoration earlier, we're able to actually progress the restoration faster and therefore reduce carbon emissions to the atmosphere. So as quickly as possible, but the contract end date of February. So if anybody had something ready in January, it'd be very, very welcome to submit it. So the return tender documents must include the following. So a statement outlining ability of the team to meet the requirements in the statement of requirements. This is really important, and that is the 25 or 24 in the case of Cheese Bay statements required in section 4. So please do set out how you are going to meet those 24 or 25 requirements. Statements of experience of the tendering business and or personnel, and summary CVs would be particularly helpful. The pricing structure set out in section 7, of course the signed tender declaration and tender application form, and a data protection policy statement of your organisation. It says in here also the mandatory health and safety and insurance documents listed in Annex C, those will only be required from the successful bidder. That's not entirely clear in our tender, and I apologise for that, but that is only if you are the successful bidder. And as it also sets out further, this should be submitted but to Peatland Action Tender at NATURE.SCOT, and please note that no other method of receiving tenders will be welcome. Thereafter, there is a set of standard terms and conditions which are fairly standard in NatureScot's tender process, and it sets out that, for example, 90 days will be the period during which your quote will last, and also that quotes will be evaluated against quality and price criteria, which is set out further down. In pricing instructions, we are looking for your proposed programme of work, so how you are going to deliver the work within the allocated timescale. So, you know, I propose to start in the first week of October. I'll spend 2 days doing desk research. I'll spend, you know, X amount of days doing site visits, etc., etc. So please set it out how it fits in and how you're going to do this within the timescale. Obviously, then we're looking for personnel and the days proposed for the delivery of the service. If you could set out your expected work days per task, that would be particularly helpful in judging value for money, and it helps us to provide better feedback on, for example, if your quote comes in at a price which is significantly higher than others, we can then work with you and say, well, you know, you've suggested that this would take 10 days. In reality, we would tend to find that this piece of work only takes 6 days or whatever, which would help you in future bidding. So please do break down your task by your expected allocation of work days, because that will help us understand where there's kind of issues with understanding the sort of scope of the specification and how we can help you further. So we're really, really keen to encourage a much greater uptake of feasibility studies and to bring in new people. So we're very keen to help those who do tender and perhaps are not successful the first time understand why that's the case, and to come back again to look at this work. There'll be more and more of these coming online. So we're very keen to kind of help people work their way into getting them, even if not necessarily the first time. Then it also asks you for proposed personnel, so whether it's just a one person carrying out the work or whether the team of you, please set out who they'll be, what their experience is, and include CVs as a separate document. But if you want to put in a summary CV or, you know, a paragraph about each member of the team, that would be particularly helpful. Obviously, the overall number of days it's going to take and the rate at which those hourly or daily rates are charged, along with subsistence and any other costs. The interesting thing to note in both Glenrath and letters is that we are asking for your price for the 100 metre grid square for peat depth surveys, which is the standard Peatland Action survey, to price that into your tender. What we're also asking you then to do is to provide a price for which your surveying on a 50 metre grid square for the purposes of Peatland Action would be priced. So please give us the price for the Peatland Code. So please give us the price for the 100 metre grid square required by Peatland Action, because only after that survey has been done will it be obvious how much of that area would be eligible for the Peatland Code anyway, at which point we would know how much of that needed to have the 50 metre grid square surveying carried out. So please provide a rate for that rather than building that into your cost. It's written in the pricing instructions in both of these. We're very happy to answer any questions if people have questions on that. Obviously, then we have the contract period. As I said, all of these are in February, and the sort of submission of data and templates and so on that we're requiring you to use. We also ask people to give us a statement about their sustainability practices and their intention to work to Fair Work First policies. And as it'll set out in section 8, the tenders are judged on the basis of 30% being price and 70% being quality. The price allocation is done on the basis of the cheapest first will score most highly, and everybody thereafter will score an amount relative to the cheapest tender. The quality is predominantly the thing that we're looking for in there as well. So should there be two tenders which end up scoring the same, once you've combined both price and quality, the tender award will be given to the one with the highest quality score. Under quality, we're looking for how you're going to meet the scope of the service. So basically how you're going to set out your methodology towards the 24 or 25 points that we're looking for and meeting our methodology, the experience of your personnel, and also your ability to meet that within the contract time frame. So for example, that's particularly important if you're proposing to bid for, say, all three of those, or you're planning to, or you already have another piece of work on which is significant. You have to set out how you're actually going to manage that within the capacity of the personnel that are available for the project. There's a mandatory statement about sustainability, a mandatory statement about fair work practices, and a requirement for your data protection policy or some equivalent thing which will tell us how you'll handle sensitive data. Reading further down the page, one thing to highlight to you is the bit about data. Let me just find this for you. Data protection policy. And there's something in there which says you'll be required to meet external certifications, Cyber Essentials Plus certification. Highlighted in yellow, and this is really important, is if this is proportionate to the service being procured, i.e. you're accessing sensitive information from NatureScot. So information which is sort of would compromise the security of NatureScot. Now the reality is that this will very unlikely to be relevant to the piece of work that you're carrying out. So you're actually going on site, you are looking at information on the ground, you're looking at information from aerial surveys or whatever. It's very unlikely that you would require external certification to carry out this piece of work. So, you know, if the proportionate to the service being procured bit is really essential there, it's very unlikely that this will be proportionate to the service being procured here. So just to highlight, not to be put off by that. And then if you come down into the annexes, you'll have an annex of the general area, so the location map of the piece of land that we're talking about. Annex B will be the survey area that we're asking you to look at. If you were to look at Cheese Bay and Loch Portent, you'll find that the target sites are spread quite well across a large common grazings area. So there is significant kind of significant amount of walking required on the Cheese Bay and Loch Portent site, which is not the same in Glenrath, and particularly not in Letters, which is actually all pretty accessible and close to the road. There is a new road into Glenrath, which makes that one a little bit easier too. And then Annex C will set out health and safety requirements, but these are for the successful bidder only. So please ensure that you could meet them if you were required to, if you were the winning bid, but they're not something that you have to submit at the time. Annex D sets out biodiversity, biosecurity requirements and a training course that will be required if you were the successful bidder. So again, please, this is only if you are the winning bidder for the tender. And I think that's the kind of basics there. They all should be relatively straightforward in terms of what they ask and what they ask you to deliver it on. If you are up to speed with peatland condition assessment, peat depth surveys, and the general requirements of the restoration project itself. So, but please do take advantage of the question function until lunchtime on Friday.
Perfect.